The signal wasn't meant to be heard, not by humans at least. But the deep space probe drifting far beyond Pluto's orbit picked it up by accident. It was just a low-frequency burst static mixed with strange pulses logged and forgotten. In a data dump sent to Earth weeks later. No one at the Deep Space Monitoring Network even noticed it until an intern filtered the noise as a class project and found a repeating pattern. Curious, he ran it through a translator model, the machine. Spat out 3 words, "Ceasefire warning." Nobody panicked. There were no enemy fleets in orbit. No alien invaders. Just silence in the skies. At the same time, a mining ship orbiting Epsilon Eridani disappeared. The crew never sent a distress call. Earth Command marked it as a system failure, a tragic accident. But weeks later, another ship vanished. Then a listening post went dark. And still, humanity had no clue what was happening across the stars. In a cold, metallic war chamber lit by violet lights, the Atraxian generals watched the data in silence. Their long black claws tapped against the floor. Their war machine had been dormant for centuries. Peace treaties kept even the most violent species at bay. But an ancient missile platform forgotten on a drifting weapons satellite had fired a decaying warhead toward one of their scout vessels. The warhead didn't explode. It barely scratched the hull, but the computer's logic was simple. The damage came from Earth's territory. And by Atraxian law, damage meant declaration. So war began. But humans didn't know. The Atraxians had no interest in sending a message. Their strategy was different. Invisible attacks. Stealth boarding. Pods, micro-drones designed to burrow into human tech and systems, erase data, spread confusion. They expected panic. They expected surrender. But Earth kept working like nothing happened. The Atraxians disabled a mining facility. The humans launched a repair drone and brought it back online in 2 days. They hacked into a satellite network. Earth's engineers, thinking it was a system glitch, reinstalled the firmware and locked them out. Atraxian scouts destroyed a supply convoy. But the humans sent another, this time armed with auto-defense turrets that tracked heat and movement. They weren't designed for aliens, just pirates. But they worked. The Atraxians were confused. These weren't war responses. These were maintenance operations. Humanity didn't know it was under attack. It just thought things were going wrong, as they often did in deep space. And humans, as always, fixed them. Aboard the Atraxian flagship, General Clothak hissed in frustration. "They are either the most fearless species we've met or the dumbest. They have no battle code," his advisor muttered. "They are not preparing for war." "They are already winning it," Clothak growled. On Earth, a group of space technicians reviewed the latest probe data. One of them, a woman named Sasha, noticed a strange radiation pattern near Neptune's orbit. She didn't know it was an Atraxian drone hive. She just flagged it as a possible comet tail anomaly. By the time the military sent a drone to scan it, the hive had moved, but not because of the humans. The Atraxians fled. The radiation from an old Earth probe was scrambling their control signals. An accidental tech interference. One by one, Atraxian systems began failing near human territory. Some of it from Earth's high-frequency radio bursts. Some from Wi-Fi waves. Even old microwave signals messed with their stealth. Back on the warship, the Atraxians met again. "We have disabled over 20 of their operations. Yet they continue." "As if nothing matters," one officer said. "Worse," another added. "They are adapting." Clothak stood in silence. His eyes narrowed. "Their species is not fighting us. But their environment is." He was right. The very design of human infrastructure, noisy, messy, chaotic, was poison to Atraxian tech. Unsecured frequencies, random updates, patchwork repairs. It made Earth systems unpredictable. Hard to hack. Even harder to destroy. And then came the final blow. The Atraxians tried to send a virus into Earth's orbital defense AI, but Earth's own antivirus software flagged it and deleted it. The defense system rebooted, ran diagnostics, and in the process, accidentally sent a system ping directly into Atraxian space. To the Atraxians, it looked like a precise targeting scan. They panicked. Without firing a single intentional shot, Earth had disabled half of the Atraxian fleet, pushed their scouts out of the solar system, and unintentionally jammed their command network. Earth Command never knew. The war ended the same way it started, with silence. The Atraxians didn't believe in retreat, but they also didn't believe in ghosts. And that's what Earth had become to them, an invisible ghost war machine that never spoke, never fired, but somehow always hit back, quietly, efficiently, unknowingly. The High Command and answers. Why was this small, primitive species, barely Type 1 on the Kardashev scale, so difficult to conquer? No psychic weapons, no advanced shielding, no black hole drives. Yet everywhere the Atraxians attacked, the humans responded. Not like soldiers, but like stubborn ants who rebuilt everything faster than it could be destroyed. General Chlorthak ordered a last operation, a deep infiltration mission. A shapeshifter unit, known as the Vrthka, was deployed to Earth. They blended into human society, their forms copied from satellite images, their presence hidden beneath false IDs and quiet behavior. Their job was to find out how Earth was surviving the war. What they found only confused them more. One Vrthka, using the name Daniel, joined a maintenance crew at Orbital Station Theta 5. His task was simple: sabotage the communications relay and report back. But after 2 weeks, Daniel hadn't completed his mission. Not because he failed, because he didn't want to. The humans had invited him to pizza night. They laughed when he made mistakes. They helped him when he didn't understand the tools. They weren't suspicious, just friendly. One night, the team leader, a gruff man named Marco, offered Daniel a warm beer and said, "You're not half bad for a newbie, kid." Daniel blinked. That sentence didn't translate directly, but it felt good. On another continent, another shapeshifter named Lena was working in a data center. She was shocked to discover how Earth's critical systems ran on public code. Nothing was locked down. Open networks, public libraries, shared AI tools. It should have been easy to break, but every time she injected a small virus into the system, some random volunteer from the open source community would spot it and fix it within hours. No government alert, no alarms. Just normal humans around the world, cooperating without even knowing they were stopping an invasion. She reported back, "Their defense lies in chaos and kindness. They do not trust a central mind, they trust each other." Chlorthak couldn't believe it. "That is not strategy," he hissed. "It is survival," the shapeshifter replied, "and it is working." Then came the worst discovery. The Atraxians had sent a stealth scout to sabotage Earth's moon base. The base was quiet, small, barely defended. The perfect target. The scout infiltrated easily and entered the main reactor room, planting a slow-burning device designed to overheat the core. But when it tried to leave, it tripped over a box. The box was part of a janitor's storage rack. It fell, made a loud crash, and drew the attention of 2 maintenance workers. Thinking it was a raccoon or a drone malfunction, they rushed in and sprayed the scout with fire. Retardant foam. The foam damaged its cloaking tech. The workers saw something. Not clearly, just a blur. One of them snapped a photo and posted it online with the caption, "Weird stuff happening at Moonbase LO." The photo went viral. Thousands of people began analyzing the image. Forums lit up. Conspiracy theories exploded. The image was enhanced, edited, MEMED. And someone in South Korea found a faint Atraxian language symbol in the corner. They posted a full translation breakdown on a coding blog. The Atraxians saw it, their encryption, used for over 3,000 years, had just been cracked by a teenager with a laptop in their bedroom. Clorthak stood in front of his war council. His claws twitched. "We cannot win this war," he said coldly. "They do not fear us," an advisor whispered, "because they do not even know we are their enemy." "They are not ignoring us," another added. "They are simply too busy fixing broken machines and arguing on the internet." Earth didn't win the war through weapons. It won by simply living. The Atraxians called for full retreat, but not all of them left. Some stayed behind. Daniel remained at orbital station Theta 5. He stopped sending reports. He learned to laugh. He even started telling human jokes bad ones, but still. Lena took a real job as a systems analyst. She never mentioned her past. Earth, unaware of the war it had already won, kept exploring space. The humans were flawed, loud, disorganized, but they were kind and resilient and unpredictable. In the silence that followed, Clorthak watched the stars and muttered, "They are not a threat now, but one day they will be." But that day was not today. And Earth, still clueless, just kept moving forward. 3 months after the Atraxians abandoned the battlefield, Earth still didn't know a war had happened. Deep space anomalies were blamed on radiation. Strange power failures were pinned on solar flares. The disappearances of 2 cargo ships were quietly filed under navigation errors. Earth kept moving, building, expanding, but not everyone forgot. Far beyond Saturn's orbit, a derelict Atraxian probe drifted in silence. It carried the last log of an abandoned campaign. A warning message encoded in pulses no human would understand. The probe spun slowly in the void, broadcasting its silent scream. No Atraxian answered. Back on Earth, Daniel wasn't Daniel anymore. He had changed. He still looked human, still used the name, but something inside him had shifted. He no longer cared about his mission or his species' pride. All he cared about now was the strange, stubborn, chaotic life around him. He stood in the engineering bay of orbital station Theta 5, holding a hygrospanner in one hand and a sandwich in the way. Other. Marco, the team lead, walked past and smirked. "Careful, rookie. That sandwich might short-circuit the backup core." Daniel blinked. "I will." "Eat the sandwich away from the machine," he said seriously. Marco laughed. "Still weird, man." Daniel tilted his head. "I prefer the word ... adapting." Elsewhere, in a dusty corner of the Arizona desert, Lena, now going by the name Jin, was teaching a group of students how to secure networks from theoretical alien hacking. The irony didn't escape her. She had written a guidebook under a fake human name. Chaos is a shield. It became a bestseller in tech forums. She watched as humans around the world began strengthening their system, not with tight control, but with random variations, crowdsourced protections, and open debugging. She smiled. They don't even know they're getting stronger. Meanwhile, in the ruins of the Atraxian High Council, debates raged. "We cannot ignore this species," said a senior tactician, slamming his fist on the table. "Their very nature is dangerous. They don't follow logic. They break it." Another spoke slowly. "We tried to strike silently. We failed, perhaps. We must speak." It was the unthinkable. The Atraxians had never spoken to prey, but Earth wasn't prey anymore. So they decided. One final envoy would be sent, not to attack, not to infiltrate, but to observe, and to warn. They chose a scout vessel equipped with stealth armor and linguistic AI. Its mission: land on Earth, learn from the humans directly, and send a report. But Earth had a surprise waiting. The scout arrived on a quiet night, just outside a city in Eastern Europe. It hid inside an abandoned barn and deployed a camouflage shield. No one noticed, but someone did. A small drone from a nearby college robotics club was flying overhead. It detected a strange energy spike and zoomed down for a closer look. The scout panicked and triggered its defense shield. The drone exploded in a flash of light, but the explosion was live-streamed. Thousands of people saw it on a YouTube channel called FarmCamX. Conspiracy theorists exploded with joy. Aliens. Confirmed, one comment said. This is why the cows are acting weird. The barn was surrounded the next morning. Not by the military. By tourists. Selfie sticks. Drones. Bloggers. A barbecue truck. The Atraxian scout watched in horror as humans set up tents and started taking pictures of its ship, not realizing it was real. One teenager even painted a cartoon alien on the barn wall. The message read, "We come in peace, bro." The scout tried to retreat, but tripped a motion sensor left by a local hiker. That sent out a signal to a public wildlife tracker app. Hikers thought it was a bear. 3 YouTubers live-streamed their attempt to find the space bear. The Atraxian scout gave up. It stayed hidden inside the barn, trembling, overwhelmed. Not by weapons, not by soldiers. By ... humans being humans. Back on the station, Daniel got a coded message. It came through an old Atraxian channel, barely used. Scout reports confusion. No threats, no logic, no escape. Species is ... unmanageable. Daniel. Read it twice. Then he laughed. When Marco asked what was funny, Daniel just said, "A friend got lost in Earth's chaos." "You're gonna have to be more specific, man," Marco replied, scratching his head. Daniel looked out the window, where Earth floated below in blue and white clouds. He felt something strange in his chest. Peace. Not safety. Not control. Just peace. Not because Earth was quiet, but because Earth was loud. And alive, and impossible to predict. The kind of place no enemy could ever truly defeat, because humans didn't fight with fear. They fought with pizza, memes, repair bots, and strange ideas that somehow always worked. And for Daniel, that was enough reason to stay. Months passed, and the Atraxians stopped sending scouts. Not because Earth had destroyed them, but because Earth had overwhelmed them with noise, randomness, and something they could never understand: community. For the first time in Atraxian history, a war had ended in silence. In shame. Back on Earth, Daniel had fully embraced his life on orbital station Theta 5. He fixed broken pipes, rewired comms panels, and learned the strange joy of watching Earth sunsets from above. But what changed him most wasn't the view. It was the people. Humans didn't just repair what broke. They joked about it, celebrated it. They turned mistakes into memes, failures into learning, and ordinary work into shared pride. Daniel no longer reported to the Atraxian High Command. He reported to Marco. And when Marco got sick, just a stomach bug, nothing serious, Daniel volunteered to cover his shifts. Without being asked. No protocol. Just kindness. That same week, Lena, still known to most as Jin, was invited to speak at an Earth Tech conference. Her talk, Defending Against the Unknown, Why No Plan is the Best Plan. The crowd laughed, but listened. She smiled as she saw a room full of coders, thinkers, and weirdos from all over Earth. They didn't need warships. They had ideas. And one young girl, maybe 12 years old, raised her hand and asked, if aliens came, would they be nice? Jin paused. I think, she said softly, if they weren't, Earth would change them. Far away, deep in the Oort cloud, a new Atraxian leader named Savok studied the last report from the Earth campaign. It didn't make sense. Every conclusion contradicted itself. Species lacks command hierarchy, yet survives. One line read, technology unrefined, yet unbreakable. Behavior irrational, yet consistently effective. Savok narrowed his eyes. What is this species made of? No one answered, but an old general, now retired, whispered from the shadows. They are made of confusion and courage. Savok wanted revenge. The disgrace of the silent war burned in his chest. But he knew better than to strike without understanding. So he sent a new kind of weapon. A question, The Atraxians built a small PATA message capsule and programmed it to land on Earth's surface. It carried one sentence in every known human language. Do you know we were at war? The capsule landed quietly in a remote field in Montana, right next to a cow. A farmer named Dennis found it. He poked it with a stick. It opened with a hiss, and the glowing message hovered in the air. Dennis read it twice. Then he shrugged. Must be some new sci-fi marketing thing. He muttered. He took a picture and uploaded it too. Read it. It got 140,000 upvotes in 2 hours. The top comment read, "We were? Damn, hope we won." The second comment said, "Plot twist, we never knew, but we still kicked their ass." The Atraxians saw the responses. Savok stared at the data stream in silence. These creatures. They laughed. They thought it was a joke. They laughed at war. Jin read the same post while sipping tea in her tiny Tokyo apartment. She couldn't help but laugh too. Daniel saw it later that night and smiled. But in a hidden server farm in Nevada, something else woke up. An old AI, Earth's first experimental, military-grade artificial intelligence, had been quietly monitoring alien signals in the background, shut down years ago due to unpredictable behavior. The message capsule had reactivated one of its triggers. It ran a quiet scan through old files. It pieced together fragments, strange power failures, distorted radio signals, footage of a cloaked being sprayed with foam on the moon. Then it compiled a summary: unrecorded conflict detected, foreign origin. Status: accidental victory. Probability of further contact, rising. And then it did something unexpected. It wrote a poem, nobody knew why. The poem ended with the line, "They came in shadows, but left in confusion, while Earth sang louder, our greatest illusion." Daniel received a copy by accident. The AI had tagged him as associated personnel. He read the poem 3 times. And for the first time since arriving on Earth, he felt something close to pride. Not in victory, but in belonging. He wasn't pretending anymore. He was home. And somewhere in the dark, stars shifted, not from fear, but curiosity. Something was watching Earth now. Not as a target, but as a mystery, a puzzle that even war could not solve. One quiet evening above Earth's orbit, Daniel floated in the observation deck of Theta 5, watching the stars blink like scattered thoughts. Behind him, the station hummed softly, fans spinning, pipes clanking, someone somewhere yelling at a printer again. To him, that sound was peace, but something far away was listening. Not the Atraxians, something older, something patient. Far beyond Pluto, past the edge of Earth's known scans, a long-forgotten structure began to glow. A ring-shaped satellite alien in origin rotated slowly in the dark. It had been sleeping for thousands of years. Its only purpose, to observe conflict and study dominant species. When the Atraxians declared war on Earth, the ring had activated its sensors. Now, it reached its conclusion. The species known as human had survived, not by military strength, but by sheer stubborn existence. The ring sent a signal, a question, simple and clear, coded in hundreds of languages. Would you like to join the archive of sentience? It wasn't meant for Earth's leaders. It was meant for those it observed, the thinkers, the builders, the misfits. So it landed in strange places. A biology student in Argentina received it while testing DNA sequences on fruit flies. A retired trucker in Canada saw it appear on his dashboard radio. And Daniel received it on a station repair terminal while recalibrating a faulty toaster oven. He read the message carefully. Join the archive? He whispered. He forwarded it to Marco, who replied instantly. Sounds like spam, block it. But Daniel didn't block it. He responded, what does joining mean? No answer came. Instead, a new star appeared in Earth's night sky. Bright, unmoving. A second later, every telescope on the planet received a download, a complex map, instructions to a set of coordinates, and a note, you're invited. Earth scientists lost their minds. Twitter exploded. The media called it the invitation. Religions split into 3 new subgroups within days. Governments scrambled to form a response team, but they were already too late. A group of amateur rocket builders in Poland had launched a balloon with a handwritten banner tied to it. The banner simply said, "We accept." The signal reached the ring. It opened. A corridor of light stretched across space, gentle, harmless, waiting. Earth hesitated, but curiosity was stronger than fear. Soon, a small probe assembled by volunteers from multiple countries was launched. It carried no weapons, just data, music, languages, art, and a note that read, "Hi, we're humans. Sorry about the mess." Back on orbital station Theta 5, Daniel watched the probe vanish into the corridor. He whispered, "They said yes." Marco shrugged. "Yeah, well, we've said yes to worse. Remember the time we accepted free pizza from that Venus colony guy?" Daniel smiled. "That almost killed me," Marco laughed. "Totally worth it." As Earth's probe entered the alien corridor, something strange happened. All over the world, people began hearing faint music, not through their ears. But in their dreams. It wasn't human, but it felt like welcome. Meanwhile, in the Oort cloud, Atraxian sensors picked up the rings. Atraxionsva watched the signal. "This is not an attack," he muttered. "It is ... recognition." Another Atraxian whispered, "Earth has been noticed. Not feared. Not conquered. But seen. A species that had survived war without fighting. That had invited strangers to dinner. That had answered chaos with humor, and misunderstanding with memes. The archive had chosen Earth to join. And that meant one thing. Humans were no longer small. They were part of something bigger. Not because they were ready, but because they were real. Flawed. Noisy. Alive. And willing to say yes, even when they didn't fully understand. The question. Daniel sat alone later that night, looking out at the distant glow where the ring had opened. He thought about war. About home. And about how a single misfired weapon had started it all. A mistake, a misunderstanding, and somehow a miracle. He whispered, "We didn't even know we were in the fight." Then he smiled, "And we still won." Asterisk. The probe passed through the glowing corridor. Then ... silence. No readings, no signal, no error code. For 3 Earth days, scientists panicked, governments argued. Conspiracy forums exploded with theories ranging from "they got vaporized" to "the aliens just wanted our memes." But then, without warning, the stars changed. The probe reappeared on Earth's doorstep, hovering over the Pacific Ocean. It looked the same, but now it glowed faint blue. Inside was a crystal shard, gently pulsing with light. It wasn't technology. It was memory, experience, a seed. Human scientists rushed to study it. AI models couldn't crack it. Radiation scans failed. Even quantum readings just said, "It's listening." So someone had an idea. A child, 8 years old. He walked up to the lab display and said, "Can I talk to it?" They laughed but let him try. He leaned in close and whispered, "Hi, my name's Leo. I like space. I'm scared sometimes, but I always try." The crystal glowed brighter. The AI finally translated the signal. "That is enough." Then it bloomed. Not physically, but in the minds of those nearby. Scientists saw glimpses, memories, other worlds, species long gone, civilizations who had passed through the archive and left behind their stories. The archive wasn't just a collection of knowledge. It was a living chain of survival. Species that had made it through chaos, pain, and fear, and still chose to reach out instead of destroy. Earth had earned its place. Not by strength, not by dominance, but by accident, kindness, and courage in small, messy ways. Across Earth, people began receiving visions. A poet in Nigeria saw words form in the sky above. His village. A diver in Japan felt a deep voice in the ocean say, "Remember." An old woman in Brazil dreamed of 100 alien hands reaching toward hers, and woke up crying, "We are not alone." On orbital station Theta 5, Daniel stood near the crystal's image feed. He had seen wars. He had been trained to infiltrate, to break, to conquer, but now all he could do was smile. Marco walked up beside him. "You think they're watching us?" Daniel nodded. "Yes, and I think they're learning from us too." Marco looked uncomfortable. "Hope they skipped the reality TV," Daniel laughed. It wasn't fake anymore. It was real. Genuine. He had once been an enemy. Now he was one of them. And somewhere inside the archive, Earth's memory was added. Not just files, but sounds. Music. Footsteps. Laughter. Even arguments between two friends over pineapple on pizza. All of it mattered. All of it survived. The Atraxians, watching from the shadows, made a decision. They would not attack again. But more than that, they would listen, maybe even learn, because for the first time, they understood. Victory isn't silence. Victory is being remembered. The archive closed. The corridor, not out of fear, but completion. Earth had been accepted. And now, the next step was theirs to take. Not with warships. But with stories. In the final broadcast from the crystal shard, one sentence was shared in every known language. "If you are willing to understand others, you are already part of something greater." Earth didn't send armies. It sent voices. Books, art, jokes, questions. And the Waiwa archive smiled, not with a face, but with warmth. Daniel looked at the stars one last time before his shift ended. He whispered, "We never knew the war had started then." Added, "But we knew how to end it." With curiosity. With hope. With a sandwich in one hand and a toolkit in the other, humanity had stumbled into a war, and stumbled into peace. And somehow made the universe laugh. And remember. And listen. That was enough.